Welcome to our channel. You're about to listen to a C2 level English listening experience, created for advanced listeners who are comfortable engaging with complex language and abstract ideas. If you are looking for listening practice at a different level, you may find other experiences on this channel designed specifically for that purpose. This particular narrative is longer, slower, and more demanding. It is not meant to be understood quickly, and it does not explain itself as it unfolds. Rather than telling a story, it invites you to remain attentive to patterns, repetitions, and moments that may feel quietly familiar. There is no need to anticipate what comes next. Simply allow the listening to take place. Leaves the responsibility of awareness with the listener.
There are forms of punishment that do not feel like punishment at all. They feel like responsibility. They feel like being reliable. They feel like doing what needs to be done. You wake up, you move through the day, you complete what is expected. Nothing dramatic happens. Nothing visibly collapses. And yet, somewhere underneath all of this movement, there is a quiet sense that you are pushing something that never truly stays in place. You answer messages that create new messages. You finish tasks that generate new tasks. You solve problems that quietly reshape themselves the moment they are solved. From the outside, this looks like discipline. From the inside, it feels like a kind of constant readiness that never turns off. You tell yourself that this is temporary, that once a certain point is reached, things will slow down, that once the next step is completed, the pressure will ease, but the next step arrives already carrying another step inside it. This is not failure. This is not chaos. This is repetition disguised as stability. And because nothing is visibly wrong, you assume the tiredness must be personal. You assume you are the problem. So you push a little harder. You organize better. You become more efficient. And without noticing it, effort becomes the default state rather than a conscious choice. In the ancient myth, Sisyphus is condemned to push a stone uphill, only to watch it roll back down every time he nears the top. In modern life, the stone rarely looks like a stone. It looks like a career that constantly demands reinvention. It looks like goals that shift just enough to remain out of reach. It looks like productivity systems that promise clarity but quietly require constant maintenance. The mountain is not dramatic either. It looks like normal life, schedules, expectations, unspoken standards. Each individual push makes sense. Each individual effort can be justified. What cannot be justified is the total absence of arrival. You are always almost there, almost finished, almost caught up. And because you are never fully pushed back to the beginning, you never stop. This is what makes the myth precise rather than exaggerated. Sisyphus does not suffer because the stone is heavy. He suffers because the action never transforms into completion. In daily life, this shows up as days that are full, but never satisfying. Weeks that are productive but strangely empty. You are not crushed by weight. You are worn down by continuity. And the most unsettling part is this: no one is forcing you. The system works because you participate willingly, convinced that stopping would be irresponsible, that rest must be earned, that meaning will appear later. The stone keeps moving because you keep pushing. In modern life, the repetition rarely feels dramatic enough to question. You sit in front of a screen. You open an application. You check something that requires checking again later. Your day is divided into units that all feel necessary. Meetings that could have been emails, emails that create follow-up emails. Decisions that solve one issue while creating 3 smaller ones. At no point does anything feel meaningless. That is precisely the problem. Meaninglessness would be easier to reject. Instead, everything carries just enough importance to justify your attention. You tell yourself, this is how progress works, that consistency matters, that showing up matters. And it does. But not endlessly. The stone in this version of the myth is invisible. It is made of tabs, notifications, reminders, calendars. You push it by staying reachable, by staying responsive, by staying available. And every time you think you are done for the day, there is one last thing. Something small, something quick. That one last thing is rarely the last. This is how effort leaks into every corner of life, not through force, but through convenience. You are not overworked in a dramatic sense. You are continuously engaged. And because the engagement never peaks or resolves, you carry it with you even when nothing is happening. The stone does not roll down at night. It waits. Sisyphus is often misunderstood as a symbol of suffering. But suffering is not the most accurate word. The more precise word is containment. His world is reduced to a single motion, repeated within strict boundaries. He is allowed movement, but never direction. This is why the myth speaks so clearly to intelligent, capable people. Those who lack ability often face chaos. Those with ability face structure. They are given responsibility, autonomy, trust. And with those comes an unspoken rule. Do not stop. In modern environments, this appears as competence becoming identity. You are the reliable one, the consistent one, the person who can be counted on. At first, this feels like recognition. Later, it becomes expectation. You are no longer pushing the stone to prove something. You are pushing it because not pushing it would raise questions. Why did you slow down? Why didn't you answer? Why didn't you take this on as well? Sisyphus does not rebel because rebellion would break the structure that gives his effort meaning. Similarly, modern effort often continues, not because it is fulfilling, but because stopping would require explaining yourself. And explanation feels heavier than the stone. So you continue, not because you are trapped, but because you are capable. The myth is not about weakness. It is about endurance without destination. At a certain point, effort stops being something you perform and becomes something others expect from you. You are no longer evaluated by outcomes alone, but by consistency. You are the one who never drops the ball, the one who keeps things moving, the one who can be trusted when things get heavy. At first, this feels like respect. People rely on you. They come to you when something needs to be handled properly. Your ability turns into reputation, but reputation slowly hardens into role. You notice it when you hesitate to say no, not because you lack time, but because refusing would feel out of character. You are not afraid of the task. You are afraid of disrupting the image. This is where Sisyphus becomes more than a mythological figure. He becomes a mirror. In the myth, Sisyphus does not push the stone to reach the top. He pushes it because that is now what defines him. In modern life, the stone takes many forms, being the dependable colleague, the always available friend, the person who never fully disconnects. You continue pushing not because the task itself matters, but because stopping would force a renegotiation of who you are. Effort becomes identity. Identity becomes obligation. And obligation, when internalized, no longer needs external pressure. You push because you recognize yourself in the act of pushing. Without it, something feels missing, even if nothing is demanded. This is not dedication. It is self-maintenance. There comes a moment when nothing external is pushing you anymore. No deadline, no message, no urgent request. The stone is still there, but for the first time, you could step away. This moment rarely feels liberating. Instead, it feels unsettling. You imagine not pushing today, letting the stone remain where it is. And immediately, your mind starts filling the silence. What will you do instead? How will you justify the pause? Who will you be without the motion? In the myth, Sisyphus is never shown walking away. Not because he is physically restrained, but because the alternative is undefined. Modern life recreates this perfectly. You are free to stop, but stopping offers no structure, no clear reward, no script, no validation. Busyness, on the other hand, is familiar, predictable, socially legible. When you are busy, no one questions your value. When you slow down, explanations are expected. So you return to the stone, not with despair, but with relief. The effort gives shape to time. It prevents emptiness from expanding. You are not trapped. You are oriented. And orientation, even when exhausting, feels safer than open space. The myth never ends with Sisyphus escaping. There is no resolution, no victory, no moment of triumph. What makes the story powerful is not the action, but the awareness of it. Imagine a version of Sisyphus who understands exactly what is happening. He knows the stone will fall. He knows the effort will repeat. Nothing changes externally, but internally, something shifts. The stone is no longer confused with purpose. The pushing is no longer mistaken for meaning. In modern life, this moment looks quiet. It looks like realizing that constant effort has been preventing more difficult questions. Questions about direction, about desire, about what remains when nothing is required. Awareness does not remove the stone. You still have responsibilities. You still live within systems. You still participate. But the relationship changes. You stop believing that exhaustion is proof of worth. You stop confusing motion with progress. You stop assuming that stopping would erase you. The stone remains heavy. The path remains inclined. But now, the pushing is a choice, not a definition. The myth does not tell you to let go. It tells you to see clearly. And sometimes, seeing clearly is the most disruptive act available.
First of all, congratulations. Completing a listening experience like this is not a small achievement. You stayed attentive through complexity, repetition, and long-form thought, and that requires real cognitive effort. This was never designed to be easy, and it was never meant to provide quick conclusions. If you are here at the end, it means you allowed yourself to remain present with demanding language and psychologically challenging ideas. That matters. If any part of this experience resonated with you, you are welcome to leave a comment. Not to summarize it, not to explain it, but simply to acknowledge that it connected with something familiar. Subscribing is an invitation, not an obligation. It allows you to return when you are ready for another listening experience at this level. And if you know someone who values deep, careful listening, sharing this video may be the quietest form of recommendation. Take a moment before moving on. There is no rush. When you are ready, the next experience will be here.